meantime, also talk about the war that in West Asia, because there are back-channel talks, according to reports, that are underway between US and Iran. US confirms, Iran denies. President Trump says that Iran is being decimated, added that Tehran wants a deal very, very badly, although there are over 3,000 targets still left in Iran that the US, if Iran does not agree to its terms and conditions, will have to face. So this seems to be a veiled threat, but as a role of a peacemaker that Donald Trump claims that he's playing.
Now we're just going after targets, and they have no anti-aircraft, so we're just floating over the top looking for whatever we want, and we're hitting it, and we have another 3,554 targets left, and that'll be done pretty quickly, and then at some point we're going to have to determine what we do.
Now, Iranian media reports have been saying that the Tehran University has been hit. It's been targeted in the wee hours, according to US-Israeli forces that may have attacked this university. This is a news agency from Iran that has reported, saying that US-Israeli forces attacked the Iran University of Science and Technology in Tehran in the early morning. And this seems to be the latest round of retaliation and counter-attacks that continue on part of US and Israel. Well, Srinjoy, the escalation, that's what we are talking about, because Iran still has been hammering the Gulf nations where there are US military forces. On the other hand, Tehran has now been claiming that a university in the heart of Iran has been attacked.
Well, you would hope that it was very late at night, early hours of the morning, and there were very few students, if any, there. That would be a saving grace. It would mean much, much fewer casualties. But you're right, as far as the macro issue is concerned, no one quite knows what is happening. On the one hand, there is talk of peace, 5 days, 10 days, 15-point, and so on. We also hear that Pakistan is involved. We hear that Iran, Turkey is involved. We hear that Egypt is involved. And then again, these attacks are not ceasing. We spoke about the military base in Bahrain, the American military base. We spoke about Americans being injured in Saudi Arabia, hit either by a missile or by a drone. So these attacks are continuing, and they do not seem to be ending. First of all, the Americans made it very clear they destroyed the Navy, correct. They destroyed the Air Force, correct. They destroyed the air defense system, absolutely. But these missiles and these drones have been decentralized. They're in different parts of Iran. And Iran is not a small country. It's exactly half the size of India, which is the 7th largest country in the world. It is larger than, let's say, France and Germany put together. So where these missiles are, nobody knows. I mean, you can hunt them out, but there are in so many different places. Same with all these drones. So as a result, these keep being used. We know Bahrain, we know Saudi Arabia, and now the Houthis have got involved, which makes the whole process more complicated.
Well, that seems to be a development as far as, we've seen attacks on military infrastructure, we've seen attacks on oil and refineries and the energy infrastructure, and now civilian infrastructure, according to reports, has been hit. And this seems to be right at the beginning as well. If you remember, a school in Iran being hit in Manab, and now this seems to be a university, according to Iranian reports that has been coming in, that has been hit in Tehran. But is the US actually preparing for a ground invasion? Because there have been hints right from the start, as the Secretary of State Marco Rubio seems to be suggesting that the United States could achieve its objectives in Iran without the use of any ground troops, and is expected to operate as far as when it comes to the conclusion of the matter in a few weeks from now. Despite the recent deployment of additional forces to the region, Marco Rubio says that the recent deployment of thousands of more troops to the region were intended to give President Trump's options to respond with the contingencies in the conflict, but declined, however, to go in the operational details. Well, let's first listen into him, to what he said.
The objectives I've outlined to you are again, I repeat them, because I see these reports as like the U.S. is not clear on what objectives are. We've been as clear as you can possibly be from the very first night of what the objectives of this mission are. We're going to destroy their factories that make missiles and rockets and drones. We're going to destroy their Navy. We're going to destroy their Air Force. And we are going to significantly destroy their missile launchers so they can never hide behind these things to get a nuclear weapon. We are achieving all those objectives. We are ahead of schedule on most of them. And we can achieve them without any ground troops, without any. Now, in terms of why there's deployments, number one, the president has to be prepared for multiple contingencies, which I'm not going to discuss in the media. And again, I refer you to the Department of War, who will probably tell you the exact same thing. But we can achieve all of our objectives without ground troops, but we are always going to be prepared to give the president maximum optionality and maximum opportunity to adjust to contingencies should they emerge.
So basically, Srinjoy, troops are being kept on standby, and that remains to be seen. If there is a necessity that arrives and President thinks otherwise, then otherwise the deployment of the troops on the ground may be done, but that is only as an option, maybe possibly as a last resort.
Yes, that's what Secretary Rubio seems to be saying. Of course, the Marines are there, and the Americans have brought in the 82nd Airborne, which is one of their two crack divisions, 82nd and the 101. So the 82nd is an airborne division. Now, if you're going to have troops on the ground, how are you going to do it? Marines, of course, that could be an amphibious operation. Now, everyone has talked about Kharg Island. That's one possibility. The other, a more dangerous one, is to go to the mainland and find where the nuclear enriched uranium is in one of the nuclear sites and bring it back. Now that appears to be more complicated, more difficult to achieve, and more likely to fail. So those are issues that are before the president, and he has to decide what he wants to do if he wants boots on the ground. I mean, Kharg Island is a possibility. There are other possibilities. One was to hold a part of the area around the Strait of Hormuz, just that area, so that there are fewer Iranian guns or even other soldiers.
But we have another
there
breaking update coming in, Srinjoy. Let's put